Welcome back. A complete reversal of fortune this morning. Take a look at what has occurred. The Dow Industrial is now up 900 points. That's almost 2%. The S&P up 122, almost 2%, and the Nasdaq higher by 461. After President Trump posted on Truth Social that the U.S. and Iran have had positive talks over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, the president says, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. The president put that post out literally about 15 minutes ago, and as soon as that post hit, markets went from down 800 to up at its high 1,100 on the Dow Industrials. Similarly, oil prices have also reversed course. Earlier, oil prices were up, and now oil prices are trading down in the double digits. The price of crude and the price of Brent down at the lows about 12% this morning. You are also seeing interest rates completely reverse. The 10-year was spiking about 5 basis points. It is now lower. The Commodities Futures Trading Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission, meanwhile, have issued new guidance clarifying how federal laws apply to crypto assets. Officials say the move defines which digital assets fall under securities laws, while signaling many crypto tokens could be treated as commodities. Regulators adding the guidance creates a clearer framework for investors and innovators as Washington moves to formalize the rules. Joining me now is the chairman of the CFTC, Michael Selig. Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We're watching this complete reversal of fortune. You've been watching markets for a long time. What's your take on what has just occurred, Mr. Chairman? You had the markets up, but you had the markets down sharply. The president comes out with this post that he's having these positive conversations with Iran, and he's pausing military strikes for a 5-day period. And now you got the Dow up 800 points.
Well, it's certainly exciting to see the markets back where we want them to be as part of this golden age of financial markets that we're experiencing. And, you know, markets respond to positive information on the geopolitical scale. And at the CFTC, we're making sure that our markets have integrity and that these contracts continue to trade and we're able to manage risk.
And in terms of the regulatory framework, walk us through what this new framework means and what you are trying to do here in terms of specifically identifying what's a security and what is a commodity.
For far too long, the prior administration left crypto in limbo. The SEC under Gary Gensler, led by enforcement, drove many of these crypto firms offshore, and this was really a tactic to create confusion as to what's a security and what's not under our regulatory framework and discourage creators, innovators, builders from developing their businesses here on shore. And so Chairman Atkins and I now have developed a new interpretation that will provide clarity once and for all as to what's a security and what's not, what's within the SEC's framework, what's within the CFTC's framework, and what types of offerings and sales of crypto assets implicate the securities laws. So for too long, when a company wants to come out and raise funds with a crypto asset, they weren't sure if they were subject to the securities laws. This framework lays out a really clear and simple roadmap for any company that wants to sell a crypto asset to raise capital, what their securities law obligations are, and then the status of the crypto asset, most importantly under the securities laws. We need to draw a distinction between the capital raising activity, which typically is subject to the securities laws, and the crypto assets themselves, which generally speaking aren't. These are a type of digital good that can trade just like any other type of commodity in our markets. And the SEC and CFTC are now harmonizing our approaches to regulating these digital assets. It's also very important that we have legislation pending that this interpretation is intended to supplement and help in the interim as we're working through getting some future-proof legislation on the books.
So what is the difference in terms of the regulatory backdrop if you are a security versus a commodity? Tell us how it changes. And I understand that you want to identify that they are different categories, but what's the difference in the rulemaking?
This is a huge deal for the markets. Crypto assets that are subject to the securities laws would have to be registered and would have to be going through a process with the exchanges to be listed for trading. And of course, trading on exchanges brings a lot of disclosure and regulatory obligations. If we're able to separate out the crypto assets themselves, which are more akin to natural gas or oil or other types of commodities that can trade on the open market and over the counter, then we're able to limit the amount of regulatory overlay with respect to these assets. Really, this over-regulation, this securities law approach to defining things that really do not look like securities and trade much more akin to commodities, bringing that within the securities law framework would require companies to disclose all sorts of information about the board of directors and the company and so on and so forth. And this is going to hinder the ability of companies to bring these assets to market and to really innovate in this space. This interpretation clarifies once and for all where the obligations under the securities laws begin, which is typically just with that initial sale of the crypto asset, and where they end when the promises and commitments of a company to engage in certain activities, certain essential managerial efforts to raise capital, to generate capital for the investor, when that ends. And when you buy a digital asset on the open market, you're not necessarily expecting to be buying a piece of a company or some sort of investable asset. You're buying something that's much more like a commodity, where you're investing in the network, you're purchasing it for your own consumptive reasons, and not to invest in the initial company that sold the asset. So we're making sure that's very clear in our regulations so that these companies can flourish here in the U.S.
All right, Mr. Chairman, it's great to have you this morning. We so appreciate your work on this. Thank you very much. Michael Selig joining us this morning. We appreciate it. We will take a break and come right back. Take a look at this market reversal on Wall Street. The Dow Industrials at the highs of the morning once again, down up 1,150 points, and that is a complete reversal from earlier's declines. The market reversing after President Trump said that he is delaying strikes on Iran's power plants, and he has directed the military to postpone all strikes for a 5-day period as conversations are going well on a potential deal to get out of this. Stay with us.